Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How are you?
If your child came home with a 37% final grade, what would you do?
I'd ask what percentage of his total score is that first, and then he and I would have a long conversation.
Long conversation. So you'd probably call the school, call his teachers, figure out what went wrong, how we can improve it, and have those discussions, right?
Well, I have a 16-year-old, so first I'd ask him, what did he do? And
Did he do?
But then ultimately I'd get there, yes.
All right. I bring that up because the adult and family literacy program has a 37% success rate. And it's one of the few programs we actually have outcome data because it's a federal requirement. And while last year in your budget book you actually gave statistics, this year was actually very educational for me and my kids because we got to do a math problem. So I could explain there's actually math in real day life that you actually extract from a word problem. So fiscal year 18-19, 20,916 adults participated in the program that received state adult and family literacy funds. When given initial assessment, 90% of these adults entered the programs with skills below the 9th grade level. Of that 20,916 adults served, 10,547, or 50%, attended adult basic education classes long enough to receive a follow-up assessment for educational gain, with 66% of those adults showing a gain of one or more education functioning levels. So when you actually break it out and show it, it's actually 37% of the 20,000 actually showed educational gain of 1% above. And then you do have some other data on 1,440 adults who did not already see a second grade diploma level and so forth. Now, the governor's proposing a 6.41% reduction in that line item. I also noticed that the federal funds don't change, so I assume that's not a dollar for dollar. State funds are not dependent on how much federal drawdown we get, correct?
Correct.
So the big question is, if our success is 37%, are we holding providers accountable? Are we going through the contracts where we're putting the money, finding successful ones and funding them versus ones that are actually failing our adult learners?
So, yes, in terms of the accountability of the program, I know that our team in the Office of Adult and Family Literacy do monitor those programs closely. And not only do they monitor the programs, but they've established relationships where they have continuous conversations around their specific requirements of the program and expectations of the program. I think, to be fair, and I want to be mindful of your time, twofold. One, knowing the program really well, and also I can share with you through personal experience. I used to teach in a program like this when I was a teacher in Philadelphia. The individuals served in this through the Adult and Family Literacy Program are very non-traditional. For example, I'll just share my experience with you. I had individuals who were going through to work on their high school equivalency diploma who were seasonal construction workers. So they'd come and engage in the program, and they take the courses with absolute diligence. And then whenever they were called because a project came up or there was work for them and to support their families, they left and they went to work. There were individuals who came as when they were on unemployment.
Work is actually a good thing. You should actually track work as part of this. Everybody supports work,
This is
right?
completion of the program, which is what we track.
I get it, but we should count that as well. I'm just saying, if you're looking at this from a data standpoint, it's failing. And believe me, this is one of the actual few programs we actually have robust data. The only reason is because the feds require data collection to operate it. I just want to bring that up. Two, West York School District is refinancing bonds because it's the lowest, 30-year treasury is the lowest historically has ever been. We will be recapturing $490,000 of that through the Plan Con. When we recapture that, how is that utilized within the Plan Con process?
We recalculate based on bonds?
Yes, we take into account a refinancing.
So as part, and I had to check with my expert, but we do take into account refinancing of bonds in the Plan Con equation.
Okay. How? In what way? Like, where will ultimately that money go?
It would depend on if they're recouping it, it more than likely will reduce the Plan Com payment, but it would depend on the particulars of the formula and the refinancing.
Okay, I mean, they basically took out a lump sum bond, repaid all their debt, and from my understanding, they're going to give us a check for $490,000. So obviously, we don't have Plan Con moving forward. We have the bond. Are you still doing recalculations within that program so that money will come in and you'll recalculate it against another school district potentially? I'm just trying to understand how that functions when we get those dollars in.
So Plan Con's a reimbursement, so they have to pay their bond funds first and then reimburse on whatever the formula indicates is appropriate. And we do that up until the end of the length of the bond, however long the financing
Well,
dictates.
I get that, but they're giving us a check for $490,000. What are we doing with that money? How does that function?
Are you saying that the bondholder, or, I'm sorry?
So they they had a bond of, they did a brand new bond, cleared out all their old debt at a lower payment.
Right.
12% of the savings was $3.49 million. 12% of that savings, $490,000, comes back to us. So we will be getting $490,000 from one school district because they're refinanced. Where does that money go and how is that utilized moving forward? Because I assume we're going to see more and more school districts, if they're smart, refinancing their debt, correct? So potentially we should be getting more payments back in. Where's that money going and how's it being utilized?
We would not expect them to repay any of the money that they've received. If they can continue to be owed Plan Con and their payments were reduced, then that, we would reduce what they were receiving going out. We wouldn't ask them to pay back money or anything like that.
Okay, this is literally what they said, the school district said, so you may want to clarify. A refunding on that amount would return about $3.49 million. The state would receive 12%, so that's what it now pays the district in Plan Con funding, a reimbursement plan that the state discontinued for new projects. So it'd be a net savings of $3 million for the school district, $490,000 back.
It will be reduced
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So you're just saying we just wouldn't be giving them,
We would reduce, yeah, that would be a
we would
reduction
reduce
of the
their
payments they
payments.
get moving forward.
okay, correct. So if we reduce their payments going out, is that now in the Plan Con bond process, correct?
It's in the Plan Con line item that was generated from the bond, yes.
Okay, thank you.